Stand by for broadcast.
You're listening to Inside Air, a behind-the-wire view of the Royal Air Force, its people, technology and operations.
Hello, I'm Squadron Leader Peter Lisney, and in this episode we go to DSEI.
So our approach really is to be cognitively diverse, so to bring in individuals from across the rank spectrum of the Air Force. We have everybody from an AS1 up to an OF5 serving the RCO right now.
The ACPs ultimately take the human out of the loop to a large degree.
If I were sat in a helicopter or a wedge-tail or something like that, I would be very, very happy that this UK sort of industry-produced solution is provided to us to provide that protection.
Also, in this episode, we'll reheat a few stories, just in case you missed them, and we'll be finding out who is under the hat this week.
What bit of luxury kit do you never deploy without?
That would probably be earpods.
Find out who is under the hat at the end of this episode. Now, the RAF loves its acronyms and initialisms, and these were out in force when we visited the Defence and Security Equipment International Exhibition in London. Stay with us to decipher ACP, Counter UAS, RCO and NGAS, just some of the teams exhibiting on the RAF stand.
I'm at DSEI. I'm going to start off with a really simple question for Flight Lieutenant Dan. What does DSEI stand for?
Defence Security Exhibition International.
Super. Okay, and I'm also with Squadron Leader Matt. Hi, Matt.
Hi.
You tell me what you're doing here. What is the point of you guys being on here? What are you representing?
I'll let Matt speak first because he works for AirCap Futures and we're pretty much at the delivery end with our platform. So over to you, Matt, first, and I'll fill in the gaps.
So we're manning the Autonomous Collaborative Platform programme desk at the moment. So trying to showcase the Royal Air Force strategy regarding ACPs. And then we've also got the Ops Squadron here from 216 to try and paint the picture of from a strategy all the way through to the front line kind of picture for people.
That's great. And where is 216 based?
216 is based up at Waddington, and we're part of the Air and Space Warfare Centre. And it's an unusual squadron in that we're a squadron within a squadron. So we're a 216 squadron, but we sit under 744 Naval Air Squadron, which is a joint UAS test squadron based at Boscombe Down.
And as I understand, you've got quite an interesting composition of personnel.
We do, yes. So we've only got 3 regulars at the moment, and we have 3 mobilised reservists. But we are a fully operational squadron. We can lean into the RAF Regiment and draw down on people that we have trained if they call on us to go out into theatre.
So why are ACPs important to the Royal Air Force? Who wants to take that?
So I'll handle that from a strategy point of view, I think. So really it's about it's trying to make us more efficient, more lethal. It's trying to augment the kind of combat mass that we currently have from across our crewed platform portfolio. So it's trying to ultimately to augment the roles of air power in a broad range of kind of areas with mass that's going to be affordable, that's going to be scalable, that's going to be flexible, to be able to be spirally developed very quickly to meet whatever threat we're facing.
And what's the difference between an ACP and a UAV? And explain what UAV is for the uninitiated.
In terms of uncrewed air vehicle, so the ACPs ultimately take the human out of the loop to a large degree. There'll always be, we envisage, a human in the loop in terms of how ACPs operate, but ultimately it's the real difference between the current fleet of UAVs operating in the Royal Air Force and to what we envisage the ACP fleets looking like, in 2030, will be the autonomy aspect of what these platforms bring. So ultimately, it's platforms that can, to a certain extent, think for themselves and ultimately kind of remove the human from the loop in a number of ways to augment it, but also to bring a more flexible kind of way of working for the Royal Air Force going forward.
So we're not talking the way that Reapers run here?
No. So whilst that's uncrewed, the squadron itself is very workforce large and heavy. I think in terms of how we see the ACP's squadrons looking like in the future, Dan can speak more to how 216 has been kind of set up, and there's a lot of development that needs to happen to actually understand how we field the new capabilities that will come through the Royal Air Force in the next couple of years. But we certainly see a huge difference between how we've seen 13 Squadron operate, for example, and how we see a future squadron looking like that's going to be operating ACPs.
Going back to you, Dan, just above our heads is an ACP. Can you tell us its name and introduce us to this ACP and just describe it, size?
Certainly, so this is Storm Shroud. It's based on the Tekavir AR3 UAS, which has been around, being utilised in other theatres to the east of us for some months now, if not years. It's about a 4-metre wingspan, about 2 metres long, and we're using it in a standing jamming role, so it's got an electronic warfare payload.
Okay, so where do you're standing here in a flying suit. What's your role and where do you do that from?
Okay, so I am the boss of the squadron. We are a flying squadron. At the moment, we have very few personnel, so we only got 3 regulars and 3 mobilised reservists, as I said earlier. The capability itself is what they class as a break glass capability. What that means is there's many of the platforms just held in storage, and if the capability is required, we'll get a few weeks' notice to move. We'll mobilise the people that we need to, both reservists and RAF Regiment, ensure they're trained to the right standard, then put them in the field to actually utilise this platform and this capability. It's the theatre entry, if you like, of a new capability. ACP is part of this rapid spiral upgrade now, so it's not procurement in the traditional sense. It's a new way of doing procurement. So the Chief of the Defence Staff stood up in April 24 and declared that the RAF would have an ACP capability in 12 months. Storm Shroud is that capability, and that was unveiled in Leonardo at Luton on the 1st of May this year as a initial operating capability for the RAF.
Okay, so we see on the TV news what's going on in Ukraine, and both Ukrainian forces and Russian forces are using drones that are rotary. What is the advantage of this particular ACP over rotary drone?
Part of the role of the ACP is to support combat air with further reach. So rotary wouldn't necessarily give us the depth or reach or distance from launch site that we would require in order to effect what we're trying to do with stand-in jamming for electronic warfare purposes. Rotary just doesn't give us that at the moment.
Can you tell us the range and the capabilities here?
No, I can't. Essentially, if you want to see what Tekavir AR3 in this configuration can do, you can look at their website, but actually the figures that we're utilising are not for this forum.
Finally, I'll come back to you, Matt. What is the Royal Air Force's ambitions? What's the vision for ACP?
So the vision would be to a force that embraces ACP across different tiers for our strategy. So while Storm Shroud is a tier 1 platform, it's potentially disposable. Would certainly kind of see Storm Shroud being reused, but if it was to be expended on operations, that's where it sits within those platforms. The aspiration is the Royal Air Force, in a few years' time, will field a variety of ACPs across the tiers as we see it. So, being that from a kind of a lower level kind of tier 1 point of view, all the way into tier 2 and high end tier 2 and tier 3, into that more survivable ACP that is part of the integral force mix of the Royal Air Force going forwards. So ultimately, we have been told by Chief of the Air Staff to bring in, a high end tier 2 by 2030, and that's certainly an aspiration that's well within our grasp. And we now await the defence spending review to understand exactly, the resource we've got to go after that plan.
Super. And just final note, on the stand here, your next door neighbour is Counter Uncrewed Aerial Systems. How'd you get on?
Great, actually. We're both our Royal Air Force Regiment, so actually it's quite good, but it's really worth keeping those guys really in the loop. And we actually have a almost like a weekly touch point with the Counter UAS team to make sure that whatever developments are being pushed through UK defence, clearly they have a stake in this as well. And what we've seen from the battlefields of Ukraine, that capability is as important as ever, certainly from a force protection point of view.
Well, I think I should go and have a chat with him now. Squadron Leader Matt, Flight Lieutenant Dan, thank you very much for being on Inside Air.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I've moved just a few feet across the Royal Air Force stand, and I'm now with Wing Commander Rich. What's your job?
So I'm Officer Commanding Number 2 Counter Uncrewed Aerial Systems Wing, which is a bit of a mouthful, but yeah, we are a counter drone unit within the RAF Regiment.
So Flight Lieutenant Dan, Squadron Leader Matt, they told us about the autonomous collaborative platforms. Would I be right in thinking it's your job to bring them down?
So perhaps not the autonomous collaborative platforms that you're seeing right here behind you now, but what we are there to do is to defend against the surveillance drones that you will see that operate perhaps in Eastern Europe, but also to defend against the one-way attack systems that we've seen in Eastern Europe and used in the Ukraine or in Russia, and also the ones we've seen in the Middle East recently as well.
So this is a really highly technical world. How does that feel?
So to me, it feels completely alien. I'm definitely not the technical-minded one. But I think what has surprised an awful lot of people is, RAF Regiment gunners turning their hand to this in quite a technical area and really, making the most of it. And we see some of our troops who continue to impress with their technical skills within something which is not maybe typically what we do.
So what's your message here to the visitors at DSEI? What messages are you putting across?
So really it depends. It depends on the people we're speaking to. If we're speaking to companies or industry, we're trying to look at what innovations they're pushing forward, what synergies or opportunities that may be creating the space that we're in. And then certainly when we're talking to perhaps some of our international partners, is talking about what the capabilities we have, making them aware, but also opening opportunities for collective training with international partners to make sure that they can learn perhaps from our developments, and we get the opportunity to do so with them as well.
It's such a fast-moving field of development, counter-development, development, counter-development. Obviously, we're in peacetime, but how's the Air Force going to respond should we go to conflict?
So what I will talk to is we received a really great brief from the Brigadier, who is focusing on the rapid evolution of technologies out in the Ukraine. And it's probably less about becoming too focused on a kit or capability, but focusing on your process for rapid development. And if you can be agile enough to rapidly develop, then hopefully you stay closer to that evolution of the threat. So I think that's probably what we need to do. And what we need to do in the interim is look at what lessons we're seeing from theatres such as the Ukraine and see how we train and fight against that threat.
So you didn't join the Royal Air Force too recently, did you?
So I've been in 20 years now.
What does the Royal Air Force Regiment and its capability look like today compared to the day you joined up?
So it's changed an awful lot, especially in the last probably 2 to 4 years, I would say. So gone are the days where we were primarily fielded as squadrons which were deploying on constant rotations to Iraq and Afghanistan. We are now developing in different areas. Counter Uncrewed Aerial Systems is just one. Autonomous collaborative platforms is another. And then you look at some of the developments, particularly when I look at 5 Wing, so the guys based up at Lossiemouth, they're doing a lot of cold warfare activity and developing in that area. And we're looking at information advantage and information operations through one of our other wings, 3 Wing as well. So there's the regiment that I'm in today has an awful lot of opportunities and has developed an awful lot in the last, let's say, 4 years.
Looks like a very rewarding place to work at the moment.
It absolutely is. It's high tempo, but if you speak to the troops, they absolutely love it, and the chance to get away on operations and provide something which does save lives at the end of the day. That means an awful lot to them, and it's very, very rewarding.
Now, going back to the Counter UAS system, it would be interesting to find out more about this system that's right next to us. Can we find someone that can talk us around it?
So just going to introduce you now to AS1 Matt. Matt is a gunner from 34 Squadron, our primary counter UAS unit. Matt's going to talk you through the ORCUS system, starting with a Guardian radio frequency barrage jammer.
Great. Over to you, Matt.
Thanks, sir. So the Guardian is like the emitter for the soft kill on the equipment that we've got. It jams, obviously, radio frequencies. So the majority of off-the-shelf drones run on radio frequencies, whether it be from Wi-Fi, to lower bands. And essentially, all this does is it just interrupts the frequency,
Can you describe the piece of equipment that's in front of us? Because it does look pretty space age.
It's rather futuristic looking, but essentially we've got two different packs on either side, two black plates on the front, and then a double antenna in the middle. It just protrudes, and it normally. So at the moment, as you see it now, it's on a, I don't know, would you say it's a 2-foot stand, something like that? Normally it would be a lot higher than that, breaching places of 8 feet. Get a good line of sight.
Take us around the other equipment that you have here.
Then you've got the camera here. That's a absolutely fantastic bit of kit. Great for just like getting eyes on. Obviously, all the users that are behind the ORCUS kit are experienced now. I cannot put into words how great this bit of kit is. And if we had the C2 we'd show you. I'm sure you'd be absolutely blown away. But it's an absolutely fantastic bit of kit. It looks almost like, would you say, the head of Wally?
Yeah, it does. Even the same colour. I mean, talk us through a training exercise and how you'd use this piece of kit and the jammer.
So, we train, obviously, we train with under 2 wing. They have a Counter UAS school there. So they often have a plethora of drones that we will then deploy. And the exercises on the kit and equipment are just essentially the drone pilots trying to get in, and we're trying to stop them. It's the same kind of layout as you would like a fire team attack or something. It's rehearsals, getting the lay of the land, and really trying to figure out how the kit works, and ensuring that skill fade isn't a factor in our work.
Did you ever think you'd be doing this when you joined up?
No, I thought I'd be, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't think I'd be doing this, to be honest with you, no.
AS1 Matt, been really good to chat with you. Thank you for being on Inside Air.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Now, when we launched Inside Air in January 2021, the second episode was the Rapid Capabilities Office, Air Commodore Jez Holmes. Now, subsequently, we have someone new in post, and that's Group Captain Cole Welsh.
Good afternoon. It's nice to be mentioned in such an illustrious company as Jez Holmes.
Super. Well, look, I think you really need to bring us up to date with what's been going on briefly with the RCO in the last 4 or 5 years, and where is it going?
Yeah, so a real pleasure. So the RCOs continue to go from strength to strength. Fundamental part, a central part of Air Capability Futures now, sitting there delivering the critical edge for the warfighter, where we will experiment with new novel technologies, work alongside our partners in DSTL and the civil service, providing us with project management, to look at what is needed for the warfighter to close the critical gaps that we know about and to accelerate those capabilities into the front line.
So when I interviewed Air Commodore Holmes, it was pre-Ukraine. Now it's still ongoing. What lessons are you bringing into the RCO that you're gaining from what's going on in Ukraine?
Yeah, as tragic as the situation in Ukraine is, it's providing a rich proving ground for a huge amount of capabilities. It's providing us evidence of what works in certain scenarios, and it's allowing us to really adapt our pace of delivery and our acceptance of proportionate risk for the warfighter of today, because traditional approaches were suitable for the environments of the past, but you just have to see the half-life of capabilities on the front line, how quickly a capability suddenly becomes defeated or irrelevant in the front line in Ukraine, to realise that the legacy models of defences have employed in the past won't work in the future.
So tell us about your approach.
So our approach really is to be cognitively diverse. So to bring in individuals from across the rank spectrum of the Air Force. We have everybody from an AS1 up to an OF5 serving the RCO right now. We are a rankless and badgeless organisation with individuals wearing civilian clothes routinely every day to bring that gradient all the way down. That encourages the cognitive diversity that we really value in forming our project teams. We take a warfighter challenge, we look at the available market space and the knowledge of innovative thinkers to deliver different problems, and then we'll do a demonstrator or a prototype that evidences whether or not that can meet that challenge. And if it does, we'll then recommend to scale that up to something that is a much more substantial program.
I think we're standing rather near to one of your prototypes, aren't we?
Yeah, we are indeed. This is LANNER. This is our research and development platform. It's a small UAS. It's about 2.5 meters across. And as you can see when you look up at it, but everybody listening can, it's made of foam. You would probably expect it to look like more than something that you unwrapped at Christmas time than something that's hanging in the roof of one of the largest exhibition centres in the world. But this is our development platform into which we can put a range of different payloads. It's got a substantial range of over 1,000 kilometres and it is incredibly inexpensive. It's just made of a foam that we blow and we can manufacture really quickly, less than 3 minutes per airframe at really low cost, and we can send that to the front line for a range of applications we would envisage in the future.
Can you actually manufacture this on the front line?
You absolutely could. We envisage doing it close to the front line, and equally you could stockpile these and make them back wherever you wanted in the UK or otherwise. And one of the real changes we'll be seeing in the transitional environment we were going to see ourselves in the future is having a range of scalability options and enhancing our resilience by being able to manufacture capabilities like this in places we haven't seen before. Those that know the Second World War history will know that the Spitfire in the end ended up getting manufactured when Southampton and the areas around there started being bombed in a range of facilities down to car workshops and people's garages. That type of approach with a platform like this is perfectly viable for the future, which is in line with agile combat employment, and it's in line with the resilience approach we're going to need moving on.
I think actually you sound like a historian. So tell us about the Spitfire development in World War II alongside the German Me-109 and their developments and why that was important during the Battle of Britain and thereafter.
Well, there was a race for technological supremacy. There was a race for realising where you had an edge over somebody else. And there was a position for taking leading edge technology and advancing it as best you could. It's important also to remember that the SDR published a high-low mix for us. And that high-low mix was evident in the Battle of Britain as well in terms of the range of capabilities we saw. We all looked to the Spitfire as being the figurehead of our heritage. But at the same time, the Hurricane did a huge amount for the success that was the Battle of Britain for the UK. And this type of capability is possibly sitting in there in your Hurricane. It's not particularly technologically advanced, but it is robust and capable for us to do what we need to do just now.
And you can develop a specific target set for this particular aircraft. Yeah, got it. Since you joined RCO, what has been your proudest moment?
I think being part of what was the Team Tempest initiative, where we genuinely changed the direction of travel for UK combat air, was a really, really huge achievement and really significant. There's been more recent achievements that possibly seem less to the bystander, but things like being able to take highly classified data off of an F-35 and pipe it into UK networks into something that was called Project Deimos was a really substantial evolution in terms of our future data-centric way of fighting, where decision-making at the speed of relevance is going to be really, really important.
Are you still as innovation hungry as ever?
I think once you've got the passion, it never leaves you. And I think we're very much in an environment just now where either you innovate or you fail. And it's really great to be the part of the RAF that does that innovation for the warfighter.
Group Captain Cole, thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
So I've moved around the stand and I'm now with Wing Commander TJ in front of Team Pellonia. What is Team Pellonia?
Yeah, so Team Pellonia was established post the previous Strategic Defence Review in response to advanced threats that our forces are facing within our mission environment. And in order to survive, to fight, obviously there's a requirement for platform protection. And so this partnership was established with a number of industry partners and our colleagues in DSTL in order to develop the technologies around platform protection, sort of validate that, assure it, and then ultimately get it onto the platforms to be able to protect our crews and equipment when going into the battle space.
So what platforms specifically are we talking about?
We are integrating it onto a number of platforms in the fleet, sort of predominantly wide body platforms in the form of A400, Wedgetail, and also looking at helicopters as well. The future, hopefully being integrated perhaps into Apache, Chinook. Ultimately, the suite of systems and effectors is compatible with, a multitude of platforms and systems.
So we're not talking fast jet.
We're not talking fast jet. No. This technology, ultimately, the jets that we have have already got a number of systems on them, but this technology is likely to be put onto our helicopter fleet and wide-bodied fleet.
So this is really important to us, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. I mean, survivability is key. We want to protect our people. We want to protect our platforms, and the technologies that are evolved here are highly advanced. The UK has got some specialist bits of kit that can ultimately do that, and working with DSTL in terms of doing that, the sort of assurance and the testing of this equipment, and then rolling that through into actually embodiment onto platforms.
Okay, so you're going to do a bit of show and tell here, I think. I've been told you are going to do this. Can you describe this contraption that's in front of us, and what does it do?
So next to us we've got what we're calling system in a box. So this is utilised by DSTL in terms of testing and validating the equipment. So what we have is we have a number of sensors on here. So Elix IR, which is an IR sensor. There are 6 essentially that would be positioned in various places to give 360-degree coverage around a platform. They would sense the threat, and then ultimately a directed infrared countermeasure would then be deploy a countermeasure against any sort of a missile threat. The IR warner can detect multiple systems. It can detect sort of muzzle flashes, down to bullets actually in the air, along with RPGs and missiles. So it's extremely effective. This particular bit of kit, which can also, incidentally, has got hydraulics, so it can sort of reflect movement of a platform. This was utilised in SALT and SWAT trials out in Sweden last year, along with our DSTL colleagues, and essentially was set up, and a number of live missiles were fired at the equipment. And as you can see, it looks in pretty good nick. So there was no damage, unlike some of the other systems that were ultimately used in those trials in the same week.
It's quite remarkable because, frankly, we're in a quieter corner of DSEI, and I'm looking at this and I'm thinking I'd be really pleased to know that that's on the aircraft that I'm flying in.
I certainly would as well, actually. If I were sat in a helicopter or a Wedgetail or something like that, I would be very, very happy that this UK sort of industry-produced solution is provided to us to provide that protection.
Okay, so let's just get a little bit industry here. You're working alongside DSTL, that's the Defence Science Technology Laboratory?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay, and so there's joining up, but for a sovereign capability to develop something like this is going to cost a fortune. So how is it going to get paid for?
So in terms of that development, there's ultimately been commitment through sort of our science community, but obviously industry's involved as well. So they've put in certain amounts of PV in order to develop their technologies. But of course, bringing that together is the key, and getting it working together, and that's where Team Pellonia comes in, because that amalgamation of industry, mod, plus DSTL is sort of getting this, into the space where it should actually be embodied on an aircraft and work together in the ability to defeat defeat threats. The next phase for this, obviously, the bit of kit that you've seen here is our kit that we can actually fire live missiles at and actually do that validation and assurance testing. The next phase for us, for Team Pellonia, is a project called EREBUS, which is also bringing in our friends from Kinetic with their King Air platform, and we are putting into a generic pod this equipment to then move up to the next phase of integrating the kit together. So it's getting all of it. It's not necessarily optimized to protect a platform in that pod. So it wouldn't necessarily be a sort of product that you would look to tag onto an aircraft for a full use purpose. But what it does, it proves that technology can work together, and that's the key. So that's the next phase for us, and it's this flying test bed from a UK DAS perspective is a really good step forward, because we can then prove and test it up to 25,000 feet. Whereas at the moment, we're only really looking at helicopter type scenarios, whereas that is sort of taking it to the next level in terms of, what sort of vibrations and things are going to affect it when it's going to be on one of those wide body platforms.
Gotcha. And so when are we looking to see this go into production?
So actually all of these pieces of kit are already in production. So for example, the DIRCM, the directed infrared countermeasure, is already a current existing project, and it's already up and running. So in terms of actually getting it embodied into platforms, from an RAF point of view, that is something that we're working towards. But in terms of actually the ability to have these, so for example, GlobalEye already has the DIRCM on there, and ELIX-IR is another proven product. So it's not like they're in development; they are actual products that are already effective and in use in various guises. It's just a combination of those onto our own platforms. This is taking a little bit more time from our perspective.
For you, Wing Commander TJ, what has it meant for you to be a part of this team and see this develop?
Well, I mean, it's to see the technology that's involved, to see the outcomes of live flying trials, to work alongside our industry partners. It's a really great team, and ultimately with the goal to enable us to survive to fight, and that's what it's all about, and ultimately that's what we're going to achieve.
Wing Commander TJ, thank you very much for being on Inside Air.
Thank you very much.
As the band of the Royal Marines signal the end of the day, DSEI will be back in 2027. And who knows what innovations we'll see then. In the meantime, the Inside Air team will do its best to keep you up to date through its fortnightly behind-the-wire view of the Royal Air Force, its people, technology and operations. See you next time.
Hi, I'm AS1 Emma Kerwin, and this is Reheat. RAF Typhoons have flown their first operational mission under NATO's Eastern Sentry. 2 jets from 3 Fighter Squadron at RAF Coningsby, supported by a Voyager from 101 Squadron, carried out a vigilance activity patrolling NATO's eastern flank. Air Marshal Alan Marshall says these missions not only strengthen NATO's air defences, but also serve as a deterrent against Russian aggression. Nations from the 5 Power Defence Arrangements are once again uniting for exercise Bersama Lima. This year it's hosted by the Royal Malaysian Air Force at Joint Force Headquarters. It's an arrangement dating back to 1971 for the Indo-Pacific Ocean, with the aim being to share training, processes and build relations. The exercise will involve practicing strategic coordination and real-time communication across air, sea and land forces. Back here, nearly 1,800 new bed spaces for military personnel are going to be built. It's part of the first phase of the MOD's new approach to building single living accommodation. The first site's been identified. They include 228 bed spaces at RAF Waddington in Lincolnshire, 80 at RAF Honington in Suffolk, and 50 at RAF Cosford in Shropshire. And the RAF has honoured the Battle of Britain heroes on its 85th anniversary. A special service at Westminster Abbey has been held. The King was represented at the event by Air Chief Marshal the Lord Stirrup. The 112-day battle for control of Britain's skies in 1940 was the first in history built entirely in the air and proved to be a dramatic turning point in the Second World War. That was Reheat for Inside Air. Thanks for listening.
I'm AS1 Ben Russell, and this is Under the Hat, where we get to know an aviator in less than a minute. Name you're known by.
Yeah, hi, I'm Squad Leader Jason Outlet.
What's your profession?
So I'm actually an air traffic controller by trade, but I'm now the XO on 612 Squadron RAF Medical Reserves, based at Lucas Station, which is now an army base, but still has a lot of air force here.
What's the best thing about your job?
Working with the medical reserves, they are absolutely outstanding, highly professional in their own clinical expertise. They bring an enormous amount of enthusiasm, and they're just impressive across the board. And it's an absolute pleasure and privilege to work with them.
Hardest part of your job?
Again, probably working with the RAF Medical Reserves, because of course they've all got civilian lives and limited time, and they're a volunteer organisation as well, so they have to volunteer their time, and that creates quite a few management challenges.
Best location you've served?
Well, I'm a massive fan of Scotland. The Air Force posted me to Scotland when I was in my 30s, and I fell in love with it ever since. So here at Lucas Station is by far the best space I've ever served at.
What bit of luxury kit do you never deploy without?
That would probably be earpods. Massive addiction to podcasts and audiobooks, so earpods would be an absolute essential.
And what's your proudest moment in the RAF?
I've done operational tours, I've done crash management for large-scale air shows, and a broad spectrum of extremely challenging things, all of which kind of make me proud. And I can't think of one particular item that stands out amongst all the others, because I'm proud of my entire service.
That's all for this episode of Inside Air. Please give us a review and subscribe on your favourite podcast app, and join us again soon.
You've been listening to Inside Air, a behind-the-wire view of the Royal Air Force, its people, technology and operations. If you're serving in the RAF and have a story for us, please speak to your unit media and communications officer. Inside Air is written and produced for the Royal Air Force by RAF Media Reserves.